Warning: viewers' discretion is advised, as this may contain mature or triggering content. Title: Unexpected Fates, Part 5. Ceres's consciousness faded in and out for about 3 days before he truly became conscious. Ceres. Aurora's face came into view, and a strange grin crossed his face.
Morning, beautiful.
She rolled her eyes. Don't flirt with me when you've been so sick for the past 3 days. I thought you were going to die. His eyes grew wide.
Was I in that bad of shape?
He asked, trying to sit up only to be greeted with pain. Hold on, let me help, she said, moving to his side to help him sit up slowly. I did my best to tend to your wings, but I've never dealt with wings before, so I can't say it was the best. He nodded with a flinch. This pain was far different from the pain he had felt when his world was dying. It felt real. That wasn't to say the pain from his world dying hadn't been real, but it was like the difference between taste and smell. You could smell something and absolutely love the scent, but eat it and absolutely hate the taste. That was what the difference from this current pain was than the other. Pain from his dying planet had been an ache. This was searing.
I have to get back,
Ceres said as he tried standing. However, his body refused to listen to him, his legs giving under his weight. His body felt almost foreign to him. Aurora frowned. Back where? You just woke up. You need to rest more. Whatever that beast did to you has left a heavy wound. I can only assume this is something like those light and dark battles that I read when I was a child. Ceres shook his head.
No, this is a damn invasion. An invasion upon my beloved planet.
Aurora stared at him. Your planet? He nodded before clearing his throat. Oh, here. You are probably parched. She turned, leaning down to grab a container of water. Drink. Fluids are important for the healing process, even if you aren't human. He couldn't help but chuckle.
You're taking the fact that I'm not human rather easily.
She brushed some of her wavy hair from her face. Would you rather I panic? I could scream if you want. He shook his head. Besides, you saved me and those kids without hesitation. I know you are a good guy. On top of that, when you've been raised fearing that creature, strange things tend to not bother you as much. Ceres sighed.
That creature shouldn't even exist in my world. We did not create it.
He took a drink before handing the water back to her.
Thank you, Aurora.
She shook her head. If anyone should give their thanks, it should be me. Not often one can say they were saved by their creator. A chuckle left Ceres's throat.
Well, I didn't create you. Ervo did. I created this world. Everything about this planet is mine.
His voice was full of love and affection as he rested his palm against the floor of the cave they were in. He stared at her.
Has that thing bothered us since I passed out?
Aurora shook her head. I haven't seen it, or heard anything from the townspeople. I think it was serious when it said it'd be back to fight you when you were better. She shook slightly at the thought. Will you be okay? The worry in her voice tugged at Ceres's heart once more.
I'll be fine. Once I heal, I'll get the others and that beast won't stand a chance.
He reached out, grabbing her hand to give it a gentle squeeze.
You don't need to worry about it, Aurora. I will keep my promise about ridding your people of that beast.
She gave him a slight nod. If you left to try and figure out what that thing is, why are the others not with you now? She asked softly, her grip tight as if he were her source of strength. A heavy sigh left his throat.
They didn't believe me, and we fought.
What?
Sarah sighed. Yeah, we Celestials fight as well.
She shook her head. I'm just shocked, though I get it. The whole not having people take your side of the story, not believing you. He gave her hand another squeeze.
I believed you right away. There was far too much fear, dread, and hatred in your voice and eyes to think you were playing some trick.
She smiled softly at him. Thank you again. When I first encountered that beast, no one believed me. I was so scared, but they told me I had let my dreams play with my mind. To this day, I still don't remember how I escaped it. Her body was trembling, and Saris gave her hand a gentle tug, pulling her into his arms.
You will be okay. I'll take care of that beast, even if I'm the only one to do so.
He felt her tense against him before letting herself relax into his chest. That will be really dangerous.
I know. But if I can't get my companions to believe in me, then I'll do what I must. Something tells me that beast has been tracking you this entire time, waiting for the perfect moment to strike, since it didn't get to kill you before.
Aurora shivered. You can't be serious.
Saris nodded. That creature isn't stupid, and it loves toying with its prey. That makes it a very conniving predator, one that likely wouldn't give up on its target.
She glanced around. Then why isn't it attacking me when you're down?
Saris gave her a bitter chuckle. Like I said, it's scheming something, not to mention its focus seems to have shifted to me for the time being. It thinks I'll be a much more fun target to challenge than you. So for now you're safe, unless it decides to use you as a hostage.
Aurora watched him. Why would it bother using me? I'm not anything to you.
Saris chuckled. You are precious to me, Aurora.
What? Because I'm one of your buddy's creations?
Saris paused. Well, partly, but there's something else about you that makes me feel comfortable.
Now Aurora felt even more confused, but she didn't know where to take the conversation from here, so she switched the subject. You should get some more rest.
Saris shook his head. No, I really need to get back to them. I will return, Aurora. Thank you so much for taking care of me.
She let out a small sigh. No rest for our Celestials. I get it, just take it easy. He nodded before teleporting back home, but when he opened his eyes, he was still sitting in the cave.
What?
Aurora stared at him. Aren't you going to go poof like before? A deep frown covered Saris's face as dread settled in.
I should have already been gone.
Wait, your power isn't working? She could see the fear in Saris's face, and it made her scared for him. He tried multiple times, but still nothing worked. He couldn't even reach Ervo and Britina mentally. Using their mental connection was something they rarely ever did, as it drained them of their powers. But right now, Saris could feel none of his powers, his strength. He barely felt the connection with his world. Calm down. Maybe it's a side effect of that creature's venom, Aurora said, bringing him from his worries. I'll stay with you until you're healed. Since you can't get back to them, resting is the next best option. The best way to recover is by resting. As for your companions,
You've been gone for, what, 4 days now? I'm sure they will come looking for you. That was another part of his worries. If they came and were attacked, would they too be stuck in a weakened state? As if hearing his thoughts, Aurora sighed. "Give me a bit," she said before leaving him alone in the cave. She was gone for about 20 minutes. Sarah started to fear the worst before she came back in holding a blue-red flower. She pulled the petals off, setting them in the water and mixing it. "This is called Venlis. It's a flower often used to help calm people and put them to sleep, something which you need right now." She settled next to him and Saris watched as the water went from clear to purple. "The best part is, it tastes sweet, so it's easy to drink, and yes, you leave the petals in and eat them." He wasn't sure why she was going this far for him, but if rest was what he needed, then so be it. Worrying about something he had no control over would get him nowhere. He took the cup, sipping the water. You're right, it is sweet." "Right? It's amazing." It took only about 4 minutes to pass, and he had already started feeling the effects of the flower. He was sure if he still had his power, he couldn't have been affected at all. But at the moment, he was in a weakened state, perhaps one that was close to that of a mere mortal. He laid down, his eyes fluttering shut. "Thank you." Aurora rolled her eyes. "How many times are you going to thank me?" He chuckled before drifting off to sleep. It was tranquil and reassuring to have Aurora next to him. Even though he knew there was a threat that could appear, part of him didn't care about it right now. He simply enjoyed her company. The next day, when Saris awoke, there were several things he noticed. 1, he was alone. 2, he heard voices talking. 3, he couldn't move his body. His mind raced as he tried to move, but couldn't. His body felt heavy, as if he were strapped down by some invisible force, but he wasn't. There was nothing along his body holding him to the floor of the cave. He focused on the voices. It was Aurora. She was talking to someone. He closed his eyes, trying to better hear what was going on. "I told you to do as little damage as possible," her voice said. The soft tone he was used to was gone. "You said I could play with him, that I had to make it look real. Why must you be so hooked on him when he clearly does not appreciate your true form?" "That's besides the point. I made this form's appearance not far from my original. The only true difference is our hair and voice. Having such a soft-spoken voice is strange to me, but I can tell he is attracted to me, just like he was back on Astral. If I keep it up, he may give me his heart." "It is a waste of time. You have me, Myrna." Saris's eyes snapped open, and now he was frozen by shock. The voice belonged to Aurora and that beast. His mind reeled as he tried to think of any possible reason that what he had just heard wasn't real. He wanted to believe it wasn't true, that this all wasn't a lie. But deep in his heart he knew. He tried to move, but he couldn't. He'd fallen right into Myrna's trap, and it didn't seem like there was any way to escape. He wanted to shout, scream, to cry, but there was nothing he could do right now. If he wanted to get out of this, he would have to pretend. He couldn't move, which meant whatever Myrna had given him wasn't just a sleeping herb, it was paralytic. He felt like a fool for having trusted Aurora. No, having fallen for Myrna's twisted plan. How long had she been planning this? He closed his eyes, forcing himself to breathe slowly as he heard footsteps heading towards him. He did his best not to flinch when a soft hand grazed his face. "My sweet, sweet Saris, I've missed you so much." Aurora's soft voice cooed, making Saris's heart ache. He wanted to cut off the hand that had touched him, anger at himself and Myrna surging higher. He wouldn't be able to pretend to be asleep for long, so he slowly opened his eyes, groaning slightly as they fluttered open. Aurora? He whispered her name, forcing a smile. Hello, sleepyhead. You should still be sleeping. He stared at her. Maybe the plant doesn't hold as strong of an effect on me since I'm a celestial. Aurora nodded. I hadn't thought of that. How's your body? Ceres tried to move. Why can't I move? She smiled. That's part of the effect. It makes sure the patient can't hurt themselves. Don't worry, it'll wear off soon, I'm sure. Ceres calmed down. I see. I wish you would have told me about that before. What if I had awakened and you weren't here? I would have been panicking up a storm. Aurora chuckled, but it sent shivers through Ceres now. He prayed Ervo and Britina would find him, or hoped that they were okay. Surely they weren't still mad at him. So many days had gone by. He was sure they would be looking for him. What he wasn't sure of was if they would be safe. Myrna held no interest in keeping them alive, and that creature... He shook his head. What's wrong? He flinched at Aurora's voice. Sorry, I'm just worried about all of this. That creature... It was like it was made to fight against us Celestials. His words made Aurora flinch. Before, he would have thought that it was a reaction out of fear. Now, though, he knew why she flinched. Sorry, I didn't mean to make you worry. I'm sure once I get back to Ervo and Britina, we can defeat it. You'll be safe. Aurora sighed. What if you don't get back to normal? Can't you just stay with me? Ceres felt sickened by her words. If I don't get back to normal, this world will fall apart. She frowned. Really? He nodded and she sighed. Myrna knew good and well what would happen if Ceres didn't return to normal, powers and all. She knew, but she didn't care. She never had. Sorry, I know that sounded like a selfish request. It's just, in these last few days I've been taking care of you. Well, I guess I've grown attached. Anyways, how are you feeling? You should be able to move right about now. Ceres tried to move. It felt stiff, but he did succeed. I brought more, though this time I'll give you a dose that isn't as strong. We just need you to sleep, not be frozen in place. He nodded. Yeah, I'd rather not be paralyzed either. Even if I can't use my powers, I still want to be able to protect you if needed. He was surprised at how well he choked out those words, how well he was pretending. My celestial and shining armor, she said, making sure to store the flowers away from water. As Ceres thought about things, it all started making more sense. Aurora had been far too calm about everything. He felt like a fool for not knowing how off this entire situation had been, how Aurora had been there at all the right times. He found he was only able to sit up. His legs felt like jelly. He tried using his powers again, but there was nothing. It felt like he was hitting a wall. Damn it! Aurora rested a hand on his shoulder. Just calm down. I've got you. Ceres stared at her, biting his tongue. That's what I fear the most, he thought to himself, but he gave her a smile. Thank you. Aurora smiled at him. My pleasure. To be continued. I hope you're enjoying this so far, because I certainly am. So I did veer off from what I was originally planning. I actually wasn't planning to have Aurora be Myrna in disguise, but
the idea popped into my head and I was like, ooh, yes, that is good. So yeah, that's what we got going for us right now. I do hope you are still enjoying this, and if you haven't already, like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you all next time. Bye!